Hey everybody, welcome back to Stamping School. This week I'm going to use Ferns. This is a bundle that is in the mini catalog right here, page 21. It's the Wild Ferns bundle, and that is good until April 30th. But this particular bundle I bought because I have a friend, Jan, who loves ferns. So I got this because it just looked interesting and I thought I could make some fun cards for her. So if you know somebody who loves ferns, like Jan does, then maybe this one is for you. Has these really nice layering labels here that have little tiny pierced dots all around them. It's got the dies for the 4 different types of ferns, and then it has a bunch of little dies like this, these little edges that can go around sentiments. So for instance, this gives you a place to glue, and then you can just add your sentiment on top like that. If that looks familiar to you, it's because they did the same thing with the Timeless Arrangement Bundle. This is in the annual catalog. Same type of thing. You've got this bar that cuts out, so it gives you a place to glue if you want to, tuck it behind an edge or something. So same type of thing. Honestly, I end up trimming mine off quite a bit and putting them where I want them so they're not so exact. So it just depends on what you want to do with it. The sentiments are pretty nice. They've got thank you, here's to new beginnings. So I guess you could kind of use that for the growth. You are greatly appreciated, heartfelt condolences, wishing you well today, tomorrow, and every day that follows. A little background stamp right there. So I'm going to show you 3 different cards I made with it today. Now this first one that I'm doing is not even a fern at all. The first thing I saw is, to me, this looked like coral. So I cut out that fishing paper, which I hadn't even used it. It's in the annual catalog. It's called Let's Go Fishing. And I grabbed one of these for a background. Let's give you got some water here. And the designer paper has all kinds of fish. And I just fussy cut those out because I don't have a fish stamp set at all. And I cut them out and popped them up. And these little guys right here, I just drew on with a marker just to make it look more like water. I think I cut out this one in Flirty Flamingo. And this dotted it with my marker just to give it a little bit of porous look. And then cut a few of them out in green. And there it is, there's coral. So something completely not fern related, but I think it works. I also think you could use these for winter fernery. I think you could do them in white or glitter paper and make them look very wintry if you wanted to. For this next one, I'm starting with the fern embossing folder. And if you decide you want to get that bundle and you don't have the fern embossing folder, it's just a really good accessory to tie into. It works really well together. I embossed a crumb cake card, and then I used my decal die, the deckled rectangle, because I like how that looks really natural. And then crumb cake, this is that texture stamp. Now I'm going to stamp off on the back side here. There we go. And then stamp on here. I can stamp off on my paper, turn it around. I just want something a little bit longer just in the background. And then I just stamped the fiddlehead fern. I had to look that up because I had no idea what these ferns were called. This is a fiddlehead fern. And fiddleheads, I guess they cook with them. They harvest them from the fiddlehead fern and they eat them. Who knew? So in this one, I stamped it in shaded spruce. And then I just dotted in a little bit of light granny apple green, just kind of dotted in the color. These are very fine little images, so you don't want to muddy it up too much. You want to be able to see your original lines. I popped it up with a dimensional, added the thank you down here. I did that in black because I'm going to layer this out with black cardstock. Now, if this is too structured for you, you could offset it just a little bit. You could add a little linen thread to it. If you want to add a little linen thread bow, you could definitely do that. So I think it makes a nice classic looking card either way you do it, whether you offset it or make it nice and straight. Now this one ended up being a little bit more of a pain. I wanted to use the 3 ferns and just sort of create something simple without a sentiment on it. So this is 3 3/4 by 5, so I have a nice big chunky layer on my crumb cake card. If you still have this nice big neutral ribbon, that one works great too to kind of ground all these 3 pieces. So this is 1 1/4 inches by 5. And then I haven't used this yet. This natural ribbon sort of reminds me of something ferny. It's got this great texture to it. And I just ran it across the back like this, or across the front, and then wrapped it around. And I did that on the top and the bottom just to make it a little bit more interesting. It's a little bulky, so just keep that in mind when you're putting the card together. But here's what I learned when I put these on. So this has got quite a bit of lift to it. Quite a bit. It's got some lift to it. So when you put these on, you're going to want to put the dimensional part in the middle and then a little bit on the ends. If you cover the whole thing with your dimensional material here, which we have, it's going to be too lumpy, bumpy, and wavy. So you want to add these to the center. So this will go on. And you want to put a little bit right up here on the top. So you're kind of putting some here, and then that will go in the middle. I hope that makes sense. So I did that. This one I happened to do in vanilla because it's what I had out at the time, but I really like how it came out. And I stamped these and cut them out and just laid them on there. But you could just color directly on it, but I sort of like the way that it's a little bit more textural. And they can kind of peek over the edges once a little bit. So out of the 3 sizes, I used the largest one, and then I cut this one twice as the base. So, and I'll always put the directions in the recipe PDF for you below also, so you can get all the measurements. In this one, I stamped everything in garden green, and then just went through with my lime marker and added the colors in. And this is the 3rd one that I did. This one, I used the deckled frame again. Okay, so I started with Mossy Meadow card base, and then white, and then this is Old Olive. And this was 3 3/4 by 5. And then I cut my deckled edge window, and then I can stamp it. Used all these to stamp a little background in Mossy Meadow on the Old Olive. And when I do that, I always start with the largest one first. And I like cutting the frame first because then I can kind of see what's happening, where things are going. So let's do here, and maybe one up here this way. There. So I do my 3 largest ones first, and then I can fill in. And I did do a little bit of the fiddlehead one also. Okay, it's large. Just a little bit here and there. Because the middle had the fiddlehead, I didn't want to over fiddle. Then the fun is you can just start stamping and just keep moving this around. Keep working. Try not to get an edge like I just did. And if you do, see if you can just stamp over it like that. And you just keep working your way around, filling in wherever you need to. Let's do this one in this corner, and maybe a little more fiddlehead right there. And that's it. So this one is pretty easy. 1 color of ink for the whole thing. I stamped the fiddlehead in the same color and then just colored it in with my Granny Apple Green blends. And you're gonna need a little marker of some kind because these stems are tiny. Very, very tiny. If you need a little marker to kind of get in there. So this goes together easily. 1, 2, 3 for the layers. And then I cut a smaller one of the Mossy Meadow, popped it up on the dimensional, did all that, added my linen thread and a little hello greeting that I just snipped out by hand. So I did 4 things: the coral, fiddlehead, more fiddlehead, and the trio. These were fun. All right, we'll see you next time. See it, learn it, stamp it.